Welcome, y'all. It's my favorite podcaster, Donna D, and the Urban Mommy Podcast. Make sure y'all subscribe and share. Tell a friend and hit that bell to keep up with the latest updates, because you don't want to miss what my girl got to say. I'm just saying. The Urban Mommy Podcast. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is your girl, Donna D, aka the Urban Mommy, and I am back with another podcast. Today, I am joined by Jon Kidwell, and today we are going to be talking all about leadership, more specifically, servant leadership. Jon, welcome.
Thanks, Donna D. I've been so looking forward to jumping on here with you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, good. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, as you already said, my name is Jon Kidwell, and I own and operate a leadership development company. And so we do training and coaching for mission-driven leaders and mission-driven organizations. And I just wrote a book called Redefine Your Servant Leadership, which is really about my struggles and successes and redefining it for myself and hopefully giving others the tools and a path to do it for themselves.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's just jump right on in. So what exactly is servant leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question. And like most of us that ask that question, we would probably have a ton of different answers. And I was wondering the same thing when I was kind of growing as a leader, had a couple of promotions and was starting to figure out that I didn't know all that I didn't know. And maybe I wasn't as good at some of this stuff as I thought I was. Every now and then some of us have those things. And so I started to look, and I realized that it was a philosophy. It is a philosophy that a lot of folks aspire to follow, which is to focus on how do I grow and empower the community to which I belong. And that's awesome. And Robert Greenleaf put forward a pamphlet on servant leadership in the 70s that really brought that kind of mainstream here in America. And I also realized that there's a lot of myths and misconceptions. And for some folks, it means a whole bunch of different things. And then there's also a lot of pressure that comes with that. So I started to try to figure out what that meant for me beyond something like, hey, servant leadership is a leader who serves. I define it in the book as an act of influencing the attitudes, thoughts, and behaviors of others toward a shared purpose.
Okay, so to get a little further into what's the difference between a regular leader and a servant leader, can you go a little bit further into that?
Sure thing. So most folks would put forward that the difference between leadership and servant leadership is that leadership, the leader's going to focus on the company as a whole. They're going to motivate, they're going to guide, they're going to direct. Maybe there's some performance and accountability. And often, kind of in culture and the narrative is that servant leaders focus on the people. And I don't know about you, but I don't want either or. And so what we really lay out in the book is that servant leaders are able to bring the both and that if you ask me and press me like you did for what's the difference between leadership and servant leadership, I tell you nothing, that there isn't any other kind, that all leaders should be servants and that we should show up in a way where we can lead and focus on being empathetic and delivering excellent results, where we can focus on the people and the performance, building great relationships and results. And that's where servant leaders can really step into and have an advantage.
Okay, so how did you come about that discovery?
Really by falling on my face and being ready to be burnt out because I was feeling so much pressure and honestly kind of judgment from people on the outside, because I would say things like, if you're going into an interview and someone says, hey, tell me about your leadership style, I'd be the guy that said, I'm a servant leader. And then with that comes these connotations of, I'm going to be overly nice. I'm going to be a people pleaser. It means that I'm always going to be available, kind of sacrifice everything that I have for the work or for the people that are around me. And those can be really good things. And we also need boundaries. And sometimes being nice isn't always what's needed. We need something like the kind truth. And so in my own feeling of being kind of put into a box, feeling the pressures and the stigmas, kind of the pat on the head and the bless your heart, oh, you're a servant leader, you don't really get this business thing. I started going through the process of, well, what does this look like? And how do I lead at a really high level? How do I coach others to do that? But how do we still bring this amazing thing of a servant heart and doing the work that we do to help people, to grow organizations and to create better communities? And so that process for me was about 10 years. And then I kind of thought it was a me thing, and connecting with clients and training at organizations, I found out that that was a we thing, that a lot of people feel kind of put down, burnt out, and like they can't bring together these two things, being able to treat people extremely well and focus on performance and deliver results. And so that's what really led me to write the book, and to focus on that when we train and coach.
Okay. So, did the origin of servant leadership come from the church, of course?
So you would find that is the kind of foundations of it. And actually, in the book, I do introduce the servant leader who kind of started it all, and I tell you that is Jesus Christ. And so, yes, the church is there, but if you look at what Greenleaf wrote, he didn't necessarily tie it into the church or any sort of spirituality, although he says that there's some faith and some spirituality that might be involved with that. But yes, right. I would tell you that the one that showed us the perfect example is Jesus, and that it kind of came up through that way and was made mainstream by Greenleaf.
I remember in school when we learned about servant leadership, the way we learned about it, we learned about Jesus when he washed the disciples' feet.
Yeah.
That was the lesson that we learned, was servant leadership. So whenever I hear servant leadership, I almost automatically assume it's always about religion.
Mm. And I think that there's strong ties to that,
Mhm.
but I don't think that it's something that has to be for an individual that has a faith background, or
Right.
a specific focus on that, because it really is about focusing, like in that story, on what is the thing that is needed in the moment to serve other people, right? That's what Jesus showed, is that he was showing that, listen, just because I'm who I am and I'm the leader doesn't mean that I can't get down and serve you all in this way and make you completely clean. And I'll show that to you through your feet. All of us that lead a team, have our own businesses, lead an organization, have opportunities to serve in those specific ways by finding what's the most needed service for this person, for this place right now, and then entering into that, whether it's building an amazing strategy, so that we can go out and serve a lot of people, or if it's taking out the trash, because we need to have a clean customer experience in our retail location. Either one of those can be great and needed services.
Right. And I think that's why this podcast is important, because a lot of times we we go about life, with lessons that we learned 20 years ago and not updating them. So,
Yeah.
what is one of the biggest misconceptions that you have about, that not you have, that you see about servant leadership?
Yeah. I see that servant leaders are expected to be people pleasers. That because I want to help you, because I really want you to grow and thrive, it means I'm always saying yes, that I'm always giving into whatever you might be asking. And and this is where everybody tells me I get a little bit nuanced, but I think it makes a tremendous difference, that I'm actually going to put the person ahead of the work. And people pleasers will do that. I will do, Donna, whatever I can to make sure that you like me. And while that feels good for both of us in the moment, it's not the most effective way to grow and to thrive long term. That sometimes hard truths, putting the work ahead of it, but just doing it in a way where I'm always being kind to the people, is really the way forward. And so one of the biggest ones is that servant leaders are people pleasers. And in the book, I outline that servant leaders are mission driven, that they actually feel called to the work, that the meaningful work that they have is so important that they place that first. And that because they care so much about the people, about their community, about creating results and life change in others, that they have a people always approach. I'm always thinking about the people when I go in. So that's one of them, that I find. And then we go through a whole bunch of other ones about being overly nice, always available, and having a bleeding heart. And we just turn those into, what are the real characteristics that we need to be able to to really create tremendous results and serve people at a great depth.
And that was actually going to be my next question, because servant leaders, because we tend to be people pleasers. How do you
Yes, you're speaking to a recovering people pleaser, so come on.
how do you go about, because it's how do you go about setting those boundaries, because you do have to set boundaries.
You do. Yeah. And that's one of the ones that we say is that a misguided servant is actually always available, and that a servant leader is present, that wherever you are, you focus on what's needed and how you can serve in that moment. Right. And so, because me being present actually allows me to focus on those priorities. And I have priorities in my life. I have faith, my family, my friends, and I also have work as a priority. But if I'm always trying to do the other one or always be available for all of those, I don't actually do any good in any of them. And I think a lot of us figure that out, right? Or maybe it's just me. I'm a terrible multitasker. But what I have found is if I actually do simple things like turn the phone down at the dinner table and snap out of that like 1,000 mile off stare that I get and focus in on spending quality time with my family. Or if I have a one-on-one meeting with a team member or I'm at a training, being able to shut the laptop and just focus in on them, what's going on, how can I serve them as a leader, what roadblocks can I get out of the way, how can we work together to advance towards the goals. All of a sudden that focus allows me to be able to be a better person, a better leader in that moment. And so what I encourage folks to do is to find and build those boundaries that you need to be able to meet the priorities that you have in your life and to prioritize those. You heard me go through faith, family, friends, work, and I approach it in that order. It doesn't mean that they get the same amount of time all the time, but it means if push comes to shove, if I really don't have a choice, I'm going to take them in that order. And, that means if my kid's at the hospital, I love you, Donna, but I'd have canceled today to go be there with them. Right. And I'm also going to commit to my family that I'll be home certain nights, but I'm also going to be gone certain days so that I can go work. And we just try to build in these rhythms. And the best way to set those is that they're firm and flexible. If they're too rigid, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself boxed in. But if there are no boundaries, it's like a cup of water, right? Like if I took this cup of water and I put it on this table, it'd just make a mess. But when it's inside the boundaries of this cup, it can actually give me life and I can drink it and it can be refreshing. And so that's where we guide folks into is what are the ones that you need to build to be able to meet and honor the commitments of the priorities in your life and in your work.
Were you always a leader?
I don't think so. I don't know, right? Like I love to do it. I have a knack for it. I remember leadership conversations with my dad when I was 12 years old in the car, and we left a meeting, and this guy was loud, pushy, and frankly kind of a jerk. And I was like, was that guy in charge, Dad? And he turned and said one of those wise dad things and said, John, you don't have to be the loudest one in the room to be the leader. And like, I've always been trying to pick up these lessons. I definitely have I love doing this stuff. Like I love working with people, building teams, solving problems. I love doing that. So have I always found myself in leadership roles? Probably. But have I always been a leader? I don't think so. I think I need to be a follower of people even today to continually be a better leader tomorrow.
The reason why I asked, because you said that you were a people pleaser. So it's
recovering.
Recovering. So the fact that you were a people pleaser, I know it's quite difficult, because I'm a people pleaser. I'm also in a leadership role, and I find it extremely difficult as a people pleaser to be a leader, because I'm always feeling sorry. I'm always, and then I guess my boss, it's two of us. So there's the other person who's with me. She's my partner in crime. She's the bad cop and I'm the good cop, So she's my sidekick, and we have
That's
to
right.
have each other, because I'm the nice person. So she's nice too, but she's the no nonsense. So that's why I asked that question when it comes to leadership. And now that everyone is setting boundaries, it makes it easier for us to do it, because at first, when we would be not afraid, but we didn't want to say no. Now it's more acceptable to say no.
Yeah, it is. I find that it is. And like you said, for those of us that are like, oh yeah, I'm a people pleaser, I always find that it feels like we're in the middle of this spider web where everybody gets a rope and you're just getting pulled all the time in these different ways. And you're just like being jerked all over the place. Right. And, and for me, it's not getting what I want, but really what's needed. And if I'm going to say yes to you, it means I'm going to have to say no over here, or maybe we can't spend that money because we didn't earn this money. And like, instead of just trying to figure it out, it's just, I find that saying the truth, communicating a lot more often, and reminding people about this is why we do what we do. This is where we're going. This is what's needed. All of a sudden I get to start moving that spider web in a specific general direction. And we can do it in a way where I'm not dragging people along through their spider web, but we're actually trying to pick this whole thing up and move together. Because I felt like I was just getting banged around all over the place, always trying to make sure that everybody was happy, and that everything was being done. And I realized that if I'm trying to get everything done, I'm often not getting anything done. And that was a big wake up call for me, that helped me just reframe and say, okay, we get a couple of things that we get to do really, really well. Let's do those together.
Right. Okay. So what made you write your book?
I teach at a university, master's org leadership. And there was a lady and I that were talking after class, and we were talking about servant leadership. And at this point I was already coaching and training, and I always ask you, like, tell me about your leadership style. And if it was servant leadership or whatever, like, we'd get into it, and I'd go with those conversations. And she said, I would have said a servant leader, but I don't really identify as that anymore. And it was because of all of the stigmas, the pressures, well, if you're a servant leader, you don't get to do this. Like, you got to be the other kind of leader that gets to do that. Like, you don't get to have the performance, the accountability, the results. You're just supposed to take care and be sweet to the people. And so she's like, yeah, I don't really identify as that anymore. And it was that conversation plus similar conversations with clients that I was like, oh, this whole process that I went through wasn't really a me thing. Like, it's a we thing. And so that's what reinvigorated me and really got me going into, okay, then let's write the book. And if my stories of struggle and some successes, if the real life examples of people we talk to in interviews are helpful, then let's do that so we can coach people through the process. Because today I feel stronger, more resilient, so much more joy and freedom to be able to do what's needed to help people and grow a business.
So with your coaching clients, I just wanted to back up a little bit. With your coaching clients, when you have clients, what type of qualities do you think make some of the best leaders?
Oh, a very humble confidence. When it's not about them, it's all about the work and the people, but they are very confident in what they bring to the table. That's a great, attractive quality in a leader. The leader who is a great communicator, not just what they say, but also being able to listen. I think that communication involves listening. It involves seeking to understand what I just heard, and it involves sharing. If you have a humbly confident leader who can communicate by listening and speaking, they're going to stand out heads above everybody else. And if you bring in that next piece, which is just a true servant heart, caring for the people, so that they can help others reach their goals, they see it as a way that all of us together can achieve the business goals, the individual goals, the life goals that you have, and know that they're going to be fine throughout. Those are some of the most attractive qualities.
What are some of the qualities that you kind of shun away from?
So we outline in the book what we typically put as bad boss stereotypes: bossy, conniving, unapproachable, that it's just business, that really the people don't matter, right? Hire you today, fire you tomorrow to hit the bottom line. Uh, those type of qualities are the ones that I think are really short-term focused. They don't actually create lasting change. A lot of us probably have stories of hurt and pain that we could talk to. Some of the best leaders that mold us into the leaders we are today are the bad ones, where we say, I'm not doing anything like that again, right? There's no way. So those type of unapproachable, bossy, it's just business, and kind of conniving or manipulative about the way that they do things are the ones that I personally will try to do everything I can to stay away from.
So when it comes to coaching, do you only do leadership, or is there anything else that you kind of work with?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. We specifically focus on leaders. We specifically focus on those who are in a position where they are leading other people, whether it's in a small business, an organization, not-for-profit, church, a B Corp. We work with individuals and organizations that really have this idea that they do business for something more than the bottom line, that they have a great purpose, that they want to treat their people well, and that they want to focus on performance. And so we work with those executives. We do group coaching for kind of mid-level executives and managers and organizations. And it is all about that, helping them grow as an individual, personally, as well as professionally, so that they can build and lead great teams and do some amazing work and make a difference in their organization and in the world.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for 4 years, specifically. Before that, I was a teacher. I worked in nonprofits. I was an executive leader there, and was always doing leadership training and coaching inside of the organization.
Okay, so do you think that with your experience, can you typically, when you go into organizations, can you typically spot the good leaders from the bad ones? I don't want to say bad, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. We always put on a really good front, but you can usually find the great ones because they're the ones there that have the great questions, and that when you watch them, they're doing things that help other people, help other parts of the business. Maybe even if it's not aligned with their goals, they're trying to help somebody else get there. So if you listen for the questions and you look for the work that they're doing when it's not actually their work, or where it's adjacent to their work, you're going to find the folks that are the great leaders, because they're doing something for something greater than themselves.
Okay, so what advice do you have for leaders that would like to get better? Like I said, I guess a mid-level manager,
Yep.
and I want to get, to be honest, I mean, my boss doesn't watch this anyway, so she won't she won't get to see this, but I mean,
We'll
I'm
send it to her. You
always
just off the screen, you just text me and I'll be like, hey, you don't know me. You should watch this. No, just
right. She doesn't watch this, but I'm always just I guess I'm so insecure about my position because I'm like, I don't even know if I'm really doing a good job because I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I want to be I'm always buying books and trying to see if I'm doing well. And I guess I'm so quiet. I mean, I'm really good when it comes to teaching. So I mean, I can teach. We're into Medicare. So I mean, I can answer questions all day. I can teach all day, but I'm just not that manager that's like, hey, blah, 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 blah. So it's just sometimes I feel like I'm not effective. So I'm always kind of insecure about my position. So many times I want to tell her, I don't want to do this anymore because I feel like I'm just not effective. So what type of advice do you have to someone like that who wants to do better, who wants to be better? What can I do?
Can I ask you some questions?
Go ahead.
What evidence do you have that you're not effective?
I guess I don't have any.
Okay, so flip that. What evidence do you have from the people around you that might show you that you are effective as a leader? What do your folks say? What feedback do you get from your team?
So all of my team, the team that actually calls me, that actually asks me questions, they are always super appreciative. They're always, happy. Thank you so much, Don, if you're so helpful. The ones that do reach out to me, I try to do calls. I try to do different things.
Good for you.
Yeah, I try my best. It's just, and I mean, and then actually So our teams are like split up regionally as well. So we
Hmm.
do regional teams, and then I'm also over the state when it comes to like Medicaid. So I teach Medicaid to the entire state of agents, but then I'm also
Wow.
over like the greater New Orleans area. So I have the New Orleans team. So we're trying to find ways to get our agents more active. So I get a lot of action from the other agents across the state, but not as much from the agents in my own area. So I'm trying to think of ways to get them more active. And I guess if I got them more active, I would probably feel more accomplished. But I
All
mean,
right.
the other agents, I mean, they're all always calling, they're always talking to me, and I kind of want to tell them, talk to the boss, let her know you're talking to me, because I'm like, I always wonder, like, does she think that I'm actually working? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds like you're an influencer, and it sounds like you have the people, right? They're going to follow you. They're reaching out to you to connect. That tells me that you're helpful. And as I'm sitting here thinking, I want to get you, Donna, a way that you know that you are being effective. And what I heard you say is, I want to activate the folks in my region. I want them to be able to go do. I think you laid out three things. And so as I'm sitting here thinking, how can I help Donna be effective? One, build a team of people around you that are completely for you and that can give you some of that positive encouragement, the affirmation, the recognition, because you are doing a great job, Donna. I can tell it in your story. People are coming to you. People don't reach out to people unless they're doing a great job and they're good people to talk to. So I know there's that. So build a group around you. You said you got a PIC already, a partner in crime. Get that partner, get a friend, get a cheerleader, get a mentor in the industry, and then get yourself a coach. Those folks can support you and give you kind of that feedback loop, positive and constructive, that you need to keep going. And then I would go back into, you said you wanted to activate the folks in your region. What does that look like? If you were to activate the folks in your region, what are 1 to 3 things that they're going to do when you look at it, you know that you will be successful? And I'd get real specific on what that looks like. And then you can track yourself to that, and you can give yourself some of the performance measures and the feedback that you need, so that you're like, I am effective. I just said we were going to do this, and I just mobilized the whole team to go do this. So I'd build in some of those specific measures for what you just told me. I want to activate the agents in my region to do these couple of things. Put it up there, stick it on your computer, put it on the vision board, whatever you have. That's your new target. And now measure yourself towards that. And even better, if that's in alignment with whatever your bosses, your leaders' goals are for you, even better. But if you're not getting kind of that outside affirmation, recognition, and evaluation that you need, build it for yourself. So then you can look and say, oh, we are making milestones. Oh, those 27 miles that I just walked uphill, they're paying off because this is what's going on inside the organization. Um, so if I were you, that's what I do. Build myself a personal leadership team that can support me, and then get real clear on the metrics that you just told me you were excited about activating those agents, and then start measuring yourself for those.
Okay, I might pass your name to them, because we may need some for the, for the agency. Because I mean, we have a couple of managers, and we may need a little talk. I mean, you're not that far. We don't. Do we have anyone in Houston? We may.
Hey,
I'm not,
let's do it.
we're all over.
We'll travel. Look, I'll come to New Orleans. I haven't been there in a bunch of years, but I could use some beignets and some time down there. That'd be fun.
All right, that'll work. Okay. So I know you said your book is going to be released in January. So
It
when will
is.
it be coming out?
So while we are recording this, today is the day that pre-order starts, and then the book
Okay.
actually goes on sale January 17th. And so
Okay.
whenever you are watching this, you can get it, whether it's
Right.
pre-order, and we'll give you some amazing bonuses, and we got a price discount, or if it's already out there, go to redefineyourservantleadership.com, and we'll walk you through the whole process of getting the book, and if it's before the 17th, getting those pre-order bonuses too.
Okay, I'll make sure I put all that in the description. So send me that information so I can put it there, so we can make sure we get those pre-orders. I'll definitely make sure I get it as well. I want to read, and I'm always reading and trying to get better.
Yeah, same here, right? One of my big values is growth. So as you can see behind me, like it's not fake. I can go and grab one of these books, pull it right off the shelf right now for us. It's because that was my leadership training, right? Is grabbing
Okay.
those books, taking it, being like, I'm gonna awkwardly try the thing in that book, and then doing
Mhm.
it until it was no longer awkward and it worked.
Okay. So who are your some of your favorite books to read? I know you said Robert.
Yeah, the Robert Greenleaf book, "The Servant as Leader." It's a great foundational leadership book. The book that I actually just touched when I reached back there, "Boundaries," by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. Powerful. That changed my life when I entered into an organization where we were basically on 24/7. Um, and Jim Collins' "Good to Great" is a fantastic one. And if you're doing anything with teams, Patrick Lencioni, just Google it and grab whatever you want. But
Okay.
Five Dysfunctions of a Team is a great one. It's a great one for leaders and managers to focus on behaviors that are going to be most helpful to get that team working together.
Okay, definitely want to check that out. What else do I have? So, can you tell us a little bit more? I know you told us about the pre-order.
Mhm.
How can we keep up with you? How can we
Mm.
follow you and stuff like that?
Thank you. Leadwell.com, leadwell.com is the website for me and for our leadership development company. And then on the socials, we're pretty much everywhere. And it's my name, Jon Kidwell, Jon, no H. You can't hear it. I don't use it. JonKidwell. And then our company is at the Leadwell page, wherever it is on socials. So would love to connect with y'all there and help however I can. That'd be so much fun.
Okay, and we're being a little modest. I mean, you're super humble. We didn't get a chance to actually talk about some of the accolades that you have, but you have worked with some really big people. I mean, I guess you can say it, right? You can say the different companies and stuff that you've worked with.
Yeah, and throughout my career, whether it was with our organization or with others, worked with some big ones like Apple, Nike, MD Anderson Cancer Center here, Pfizer, the YMCA, the USA. Those were all when I was a part of an organization, and then for us, we get to work with organizations all around the country, from financial institutions to education places to here in Houston. We work with some pretty large not-for-profits, and so yeah, we do. Thank you for bringing that up and for sharing that. We do get to work with a lot of fantastic places, and I've had the opportunity to work with some big names and big places locally here in Houston and globally. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. So just in case y'all were wondering, John really knows what he's talking about.
Most
He
of the time,
didn't.
at least in a few areas, but I don't know about anything beyond that.
Right. He didn't just go to YouTube University. Not like anything's wrong with that, because I love YouTube University. I mean, this is on YouTube. But John has a lot of he has some he has a great resume. So
Mm.
he knows what he's talking about. He's doing a lot. Remember, his book is getting ready to drop. It'll probably be dropping when this comes out. He'll probably be dropping, I guess, next week. So you all make sure you follow and you check out whatever it is that the codes that we'll have at the bottom of this description. And what else we have? Oh, I forgot to ask my question. How can I let you go without that? All right. So I asked this to all of my guests. If you can go back and talk to 17-year-old John,
Mm-hmm.
what would you tell him? If you could talk to him about life, what would you tell him?
I would go back to 17-year-old me and say, all those things you think that matter about what people think, all those perceptions, they don't. Don't feel judged by them. Don't feel like you have to go around and try to make everybody happy by doing all that. Don't feel the need to play the chameleon card so that you fit in everywhere. Just get focused on a mission that is good, right, life-giving, align with some values that are good for you and good for others, and then walk confidently and humbly down that path. But don't uh, don't worry so much about what other people think.
Good. So if 17-year-old John could look at you right now, what would he probably say?
He'd say, "You look the same. I thought we would start looking older after a while, but you haven't aged in X number of years." So
Right.
that's the first thing that he would say. And then the next thing would be like, "Texas, huh? All right, I guess."
Sounds about right. Where are you from?
Originally from Michigan.
Okay. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big difference.
I know
Winter.
that he'd be saying, "We like to ski. Like, what you doing down there?" And I'd say, "Don't worry, I got my skis down here. They're ready to go."
Good, good. All right. So thank you so much, John, for this discussion. It was good. It was rewarding. I appreciate it. Actually, like I said, I use it for myself because I wanted to learn how to become a better leader myself. So thank you for that.
My
I
pleasure.
hope that the listeners really took something from this conversation. Like I said, I hope they take you up on that offer. I hope they purchase your book. And of course, I hope they follow you. Is there anything you would like to say before you go?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to you, Donna D. This has been awesome. And like I told you at the beginning, I've been looking forward to this and to you and hanging out, your personality. Thank you so much for what you're doing and for having me on here.
Good. Thank you. All right. So if the Lord says the same, I will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye bye.